How's everybody? Good. Well, I know that the first thing you're going to ask me is, what did the film look like? That's what you usually ask me. That's not really on my mind right now because we just came off the practice field. But, I think there was a lot of improvement made in the last scrimmage by a lot of players. I think we played, more guys played with the kind of intensity, sense of urgency that you need to play. Intelligence, made less mental errors. But, at the same time, we also had more penalties. We need to improve on that. We didn't make as many explosive plays on offense, although we did move the ball effectively and executed fairly well. I think there's still a lot of room for improvement, and I think the focus this week needs to be on the players taking ownership for what they need to do to make those improvements between now and then. And we as coaches want to help them do that in every way that we can, but we're looking for players to take ownership. The team kind of belongs to you. You guys all need to decide, exactly what you want to accomplish and what kind of commitment you're going to have to it, and we're going to do everything we can to inspire and encourage and help you prepare and do all that we can as coaches to get you where you want to be. And, that's kind of what we're all trying to do. But, today we continue this week to take, something that our opponents do that's a little bit different that we play and work a portion of the practice on that, and something that we haven't had much practice on against each other. Work on fundamentals very hard, and then do a lot of work still against each other so that we can continue to improve good on good and try to get better execution in the basic fundamental things that we need to do to play winning football. So we still have a long way to go, and a lot of young guys that have made a tremendous amount of improvement but need to continue to grow and play with more consistency so we get them where they want to be and where we need them to be so that they can affect their unit in a positive way. But we don't really have any other injuries or anything like that to report. So we're the guys that have been out are gradually making progress coming back. D is running but didn't practice. Blake Sims ran and did some practice. Preston Dow did some drills but didn't totally practice. So those guys are gradually, coming back, and we expect to have all those guys back by the end of the week.
Is Trent still the main man on kickoff returns and Julio still the main man on punt returns? And what are the qualities that they each have that?
Well, I think that both of them have the most experience, doing it, having both been backups last year. Julio had a couple opportunities on punt return. I think Trent had a couple on kickoff return, but they have the most experience. They've had the reps in practice. Darius Hanks has done a good job of fielding punts, and Marquise Mays has improved a lot. So, those three guys are the guys that we're primarily working with. We got a couple young guys, that look like they have some ability to do it. And if they develop the consistency back there and they can help us win, we'd certainly use them to do it. But Kawan Malone and Corey Grant are the two guys that both, we're trying to develop for the future at least, and we'll just see how, they develop.
Right. Have Jarrell Harris, has he changed positions now? Is he?
Well, not really. I mean, we play him at inside backer and outside backer. He plays money, which is inside backer and nickel, and outside backer and regular. So he's continued to do that. We experimented a little bit with, Nico at outside backer today, but it's just a day-to-day thing where we're just, trying to see who can do what and where we can get the best guys on the field, and so we can put the best 11 guys out there. But those are not permanent moves, and it wouldn't be correct to say that those guys got moved at those positions. They got tried at those positions for a day, and we'll reevaluate it and see what we do with it tomorrow when we look at the film tonight.
Coach, what are some of the improvements that you were looking for Greg McElroy to make in the preseason, and how has he done in those areas?
Well, I think that, going into this season, we were looking for Greg to, everybody wants to improve their consistency. And, we wanted to improve our explosive plays and do a better job of, getting the ball to our skill guys, especially down the field. And we certainly did a great job of that in the first scrimmage, and that was kind of the emphasis of the first scrimmage. It wasn't really the emphasis in the second scrimmage, so sometimes you get what you emphasize, and we certainly have done that, and Greg's improved his ability to do that. I think we've improved what we're doing offensively. It's probably a little bit more difficult to defend, and it ties in well with the running game that we have, and Greg has done a really good job of executing. I think he's more confident, more comfortable, and has played with a lot of confidence in this camp, and I think the players have a lot of confidence in him as well. So we are doing the things that we wanted to do with him, and he's done a good job of responding to improving in a lot of areas.
Hey, Coach. Can you kind of talk about how Dante has done? I assume his role has changed a little bit from where he started last season, how he's adapted to that.
Well, Dante's really done well, considering the circumstances. He is in a new role. He's a signal caller. It's a greater responsibility, a little more responsibility for leadership. But he's really done a good job of that. He's really worked through. It's always difficult when you come back from an injury, when you're off for a long time, getting yourself back in the kind of shape that you're used to being in. And he's really done a good job of sustaining and continually improving that. He's got his weight down to where, he's got his speed and explosiveness back. And we've just been really pleased with, his leadership, what he's done, how he's affected the other players. And he's done a good job of making the calls. He doesn't make a lot of errors out there in the new role. He has a good understanding of what we're doing. So we're really pleased with him.
Coach, is there any update on Kendall Kelly? Do you feel like you're going to get him back for game week for the first game?
Well, I don't know that it'll matter because he hadn't practiced for so long. He wouldn't be a factor one way or the other. But he still has some health issues. And, the medical staff is doing the best they can to try to get him, back. But until they clear him, he's not going to be available, and I really don't know when that's going to be. But I think with all the practice that he's missed right now, it would take him, 2 or 3 weeks to probably get back to where he needed to be able to contribute.
Coach, can you comment on how important players are who can play multiple positions on the offensive line?
Well, I think it's important to be able to get your best 5 guys, out there in the offensive line. Most of the time you don't have 10 guys too deep at every position that are really, quality players. And, sometimes you have a guy that can play center and guard who's really kind of just as good as the starters, and you have a third tackle who's really just as good as the starters. And, so it's important to have guys that can play multiple positions because then you have a better chance to get the best guys on the field without moving guys into unfamiliar territory where they really don't feel comfortable and confident and hadn't had a chance to rep and practice. I think we do have a little bit more depth in the offensive line, though, than what we've had in the past. So hopefully, that won't be as important to us. We are still experimenting with our first 5. We played Barrett Jones at right tackle a little bit today. Played him a little bit in the scrimmage on Saturday at right tackle. But again, that doesn't mean he's going to be the right tackle. It doesn't mean that somebody else is not going to be the right tackle. It's just how we do things. So, and I know you all are so depth chart oriented, that means that if that's the way we did it today, then that's the way it's going to be for the rest of time, but we just don't do it that way. We move guys around all the time. By moving guys around, that's how they can play multiple positions. And sometimes it looks a little ugly, but you kind of got to go through the ugly part to get to where they have confidence. I think, Mark Barron's a great example of that. He could play anywhere in the secondary. He's played star, he's played money, he's played both safeties, and so now he can play any of those positions. Well, he's the one guy that when we try to get the best guys on the field in the secondary, he could play multiple spots. But he has a lot of experience, and You know, he's played a lot of different roles, and he's been here for a long time and has a great understanding of the concept. And those two areas are the toughest to be able to do that, offensive line and defensive back. But, you know, we're fortunate that we have some guys that have developed nicely, and we have a little more depth now on the offensive line.
Yeah, Coach, wondered if you would talk about Nico's game, his strengths, and where he needs to improve as well.
Well, Nico has, been teetering back and forth between being a starter and being a backup, and playing Mike and playing Will, and we played him at Sam today, so, he's got the intangibles that we really want, in a defensive player. He's got toughness, he plays hard, he's smart, and we're continuing to try to work, to get the best guys out there, and, hopefully he'll continue to develop and improve and end up being a very productive player for us.
Coach, with the new position, with Amy Bragg, the diet and nutrition, how important is that, and difference? Have you noticed anything this year with as long as that goes?
Right. Well, she hadn't been here long enough to, really change us all. I haven't gotten any better looking or lost any weight since she's here, but I'm hopeful in time that there may be some results in that direction. But I think the one area that we wanted to do a better job in, and I felt like from a program standpoint, whether it was academic, agent education, personal development programs, peer intervention programs for behavioral issues, that we've really done a good job of getting great people here to affect the players. But, the one area that we feel like we had the kind of quality people that we wanted was in the nutrition area. People who can affect menu at training table, people who can affect, guys' eating habits. Guys, some have too much body fat, some don't have enough. To try to get the right balance of, body fat, muscle mass, hydration, especially in the conditions that we work in, are probably critical to having the ability to sustain. And I think we've already started to change habits, when it comes to eating. And I think we've had some real positive effects. We have a bod pod, downstairs, which kind of gives you this information. And, we've had some guys make some significant improvements in improving, their body fat, muscle mass, hydration, to be more geared toward consistency and performance, and really fueling and having the kind of energy that they need to perform. And what you put in your body is the fuel to do it. I think that especially with this unusually hot period of time that we've had for the entire fall camp, that some of the things that we did for the players because of the nutritionists and because of what Amy's done really helped us not have as many issues as we could have had with guys having heat problems, cramps, and those types of things. And I think we've identified some guys that have some issues, and it's helped them sustain, and they have not continued to have problems. Thanks, Coach. All right, thank you.